Hi, Canuck capsuleers. Welcome to the Chronicle of New Eden. I'm Dan Val, the co-CEO of Surrey in Advance, an alliance in wormhole and no-sec. I'm also the co-host of the Canuck Capsuleer Chronicle. It's a weekly show about Eve's news every Tuesday at 2015 Eastern Time Zone. In today's episode, we are going to delve into the Caldari culture and society. Join me as we explore the military tradition and uncover the mystery behind why, despite constituting only 10% of the population, the Caldari are both feared and admired. Additionally, we'll take a closer look at their spirituality. While they may not be a believer in a higher power like the Hammer, the Caldari possess an intriguing philosophy guided by a unique and fascinating spirituality. So we're gonna start that, and please keep in mind that I'm doing the podcast to get better in English, so I'm sorry in advance. Culture and society. While the Caldari State may not be nearly as big as the Caldari Federation, let alone the Amor Empire, it is still universally feared and admired. With a strong economy and military might to match that of the larger empires, not to mention the fact that it is more unscrupulous than the Galante and more combative than the Amor, the state is in many ways the most formidable of all the empires. As most Caldari trade is conducted and blurred divider between corporation and nation-state, it can be difficult for the other empires to deal with it at the political level. If a company is found guilty of unethical business dealings, it simply disappears into its parent corporation, and before long another one appears to take its place. If a Caldari company is threatened, meanwhile, the whole corporation and often the whole state will more often than not back it with full force. Military tradition. Military tradition is a core part of Caldari society and heritage. As a people, its citizens fought a long and bloody war to gain their independence, eventually surrendering their home planet to the Galante Federation in order to preserve their way of life. It was at this time that the corporations established themselves as the driving force behind creating and maintaining the Caldari State. Even though the Caldari have not engaged in all-out war for almost a century, they still strive to be at the cutting edge of military technology, and their vessels, weapons, and fighting methods are second to none. To curb the aggressive tendencies, Caldari citizens are encouraged to actively pursue a range of sporting activities, often sponsored by the state itself. Many of these are bloody competitions in the vein of gladiatorial combat, while others take the form of race and contest. Whatever the sport, they love betting on the outcome, making gambling a massive industry in the state and a core pillar of Caldari society. Caldari Society. The state offers its citizens the best and the worst in living conditions. As long as you keep in line, do your part for the greater good, and obey corporate law, life can be fairly pleasant and productive. However, to those not cut out for this strict discipline regime, life quickly becomes intolerable. Individuals who cannot fit into the regimented framework of Caldari society often find themselves losing their respect, family, and social status with unsettling rapidity. being left with few options besides ritual suicide or exile. Although not xenophobic as such, the Caldari are very protective of their way of life and tolerate only those foreigners that stick to their rule. Given that mega corporations define their citizens' identities, the difference between the deities and survivor can be observed in their social habits and philosophical approaches to being Caldari rather than moreover epic makers. There is considerable academic debate over whether they can even be considered distinct ethnicities. Their characteristic social habits are a product of their upbringing and fight as a constituent heritage of the wider Caldari identity, but otherwise not regarded as an important aspect of the citizen's life. Those outside the state generally do not make a distinction between these social habits, instead considering them all to be an overall part of the Caldari culture, a view that Caldari are more than happy to encourage. Despite identifying as one collective Caldari unit, the deities and survivor rarely intermarry. The corporate control marriage system segregates members of opposite genders. Same-sex marriage is neither recognized nor legal within Caldari borders, a frequent topic of controversy between the Caldari and the considerably more liberal Galante. This grouping is based on similarities in physical appearance, such as personality compatibility and socioeconomic standing. Maintaining consistency in physical appearance over the generation is seen as just one of the many necessities in the preservation of the history and tradition of the Caldari people. The integrate nature of New Eden's interstellar economy has seen many leased Caldari space stations become notably cosmopolitan, as has occurred across all four empires. Space trade hubs such as Gita-44 see travelers and cultures from across the cluster. However, these areas only make up a minute fraction of the state. On planets and elsewhere, the Caldari culture continues to dominate, though the Galante economic and cultural influence established centuries ago never truly left. Caldari Spirituality. While the Caldari are essentially a secular culture, there is no shortage of myths contained within their cultural heritage. Stories and folklore dating back to the early days of the Rata Empire can be found permeating every stratum of the society. And though the Caldari do not view their mythical symbols in an overly religious way, there is easily as much discern wisdom to be found in their countless fables as in all of the Amor scriptures put together. The spiritual traditions is considered a part of the Caldari way, and is sometimes specifically discussed under the name of ways. Ever since the time of the Rata Empire, the Caldari have found great purpose through their mythology, and they are great lovers of aphorisms and sentences poems. Though they certainly abhor a propensity for rigid traditionalists, they have little use for organized religion or dogmatic creeds. Such things seem to them a waste of time, energy, and resources. However, and no matter how much they themselves might deny it, there is a marked spiritual streak in the Caldari soul, particularly among the Ashura. Caldari spirituality could be more accurately be described as a system of thought or a philosophy than a religion, though many Caldari will not even go that far. One term for it in Caldari language is Kutuoto Miru, best translated as mind tool. Essentially a set of practical techniques meant to help an individual maximize his focus, equanimity, and mental fortitude. The practice of Kutuoto Miru within the Caldari way has expanded from an ancient core to include numerous subdisciplines of mind and body, including martial forms. The foundation upon which practice of Kutuo Miru rests in the activity of piercing the veil, essentially reaching beyond one's subjective interpretation of 4D phenomena and ideas to perceive the impassionate reality beneath it all. This exercise is said to remove extraneous clutter from the mind, sharpening it for whatever task is at hand. It is also said to calm the waters of a competitive intellect rolling with oaths of power and victory, ensuring that the desire for glory so powerfully instilled in all the Caldari doesn't run away with the individual. In Kutuoto Miru practice, it is entirely possible, in fact rather common, for there to be no mention of any kind of deity and no inkling of any sort of worship. Indeed, as far as many corporate Caldari can be said to worship anything, it is reality itself that they revere. That was the last episode about the Caldari State. I hope you like it, and please follow me and hit the bell to be advised of my new episode. Through the saga of the Caldari, we've heard a lot about the rivalry with the Galanti, but to be honest, I don't really understand it yet. Where the Galanti come from? They look like they live on the same planet, but why they didn't develop as one community? And why they are so different if they were on the same planet? I can't wait to talk about the Galanti to really understand it. Next week, we're gonna start the saga about the Minmatar Republic, the tribal community of warrior, poet, and artisan, fiercely proud and individualistic, unlike any player of Eve called them a tribal community flying ship with rust and duct tape. I can't wait to understand why they are called like that. See you next week, Canuck and friends!